Okay, so like imagine this. You're in one of those driverless cars, right? And suddenly something happens. A pedestrian steps into the crosswalk. Another car swerves out of nowhere. And your car, totally AI powered, has to make a life or death kind of decision in like a split second.
Oh.
Well, how does it even choose what matters most in that moment to the AI?
Yeah.
That's like the kind of question that AI experts are like really wrestling with these days. And it leads us to our deep dive today. We're going to explore this whole concept of humanity's last exam, which is basically a way to see how far AI can really go. And not just like how well it crunches numbers, but how it handles things that, honestly, humans are just naturally good at ethical decisions, understanding stuff that's not clear-cut, even being creative. And the thing is, this isn't some like far-off sci-fi movie scenario, you know? We're facing these questions right now because AI is everywhere in our lives already.
Right.
And to help us really understand all this, we've got an expert with us. This is someone who's not only deep into developing AI, but actually created something called Sun Intelligence 3.0.
Wow.
Yeah, intriguing. Right. We'll circle back to that. But first, let's unpack this whole exam idea.
So what's really fascinating about humanity's last exam is that it's changing how we think about evaluating AI. It's not just, hey, can it calculate faster, more accurately? It's about these areas where humans just excel, often without even realizing it. Like you said, ethical decisions, that's huge.
Yeah, and I keep thinking about that driverless car example, right? And the article we're looking at today actually talks about something similar. Like, imagine the exam throws a classic ethical dilemma at the AI, like that trolley problem. Ever heard of it?
Yeah.
A runaway trolley is going to hit 5 people, but you can switch it to a different track where it only hits 1.
Right.
So now the AI has to deal with these really heavy moral questions.
And it makes you think, does it just try to save the most lives, even if it means like actively causing harm? Does it look at things like how old the people are, what they do for a living, their potential? It gets complicated so quickly.
Exactly why it's so important. We're talking about giving AI the ability to make choices that affect the real world with real people in it.
And those consequences, they aren't always black and white. That's where that second part of the exam comes in, navigating ambiguity. Basically, can AI understand the little things about human language, culture, even just how we interact, things we don't even think about?
So like, what if I tell my AI assistant, wow, great haircut, but I'm being sarcastic because it's actually awful?
Yeah.
Will it get the hint? Will it understand that we don't always mean exactly what we say?
Exactly. And that's not just about avoiding awkward moments. Think about it. If an AI doesn't get those subtle cues, how can we trust it in situations where there isn't a clear right answer?
It's about trust, which is kind of fundamental to how we deal with each other, and now more and more with technology.
Absolutely.
And that trust becomes even more important when you consider what AI's decisions could mean in the long run. The article calls this long-term strategy, right? Yeah. Can AI really wrap its head around what might happen decades, even centuries from now?
That's the big question, right? We're asking AI to not just process what's happening right now, but to really understand the impact of its actions way down the line. Like the article gives this example, imagine an AI managing a city's resources over the next 100 years.
Oh, wow. Okay, I'm already overwhelmed and I'm just thinking about it. How do you even program something to take into account population changes, climate change, new technologies, the economy shifting?
It's mind-bogglingly complex, and that's exactly why this whole exam is so crucial to see how far we can push AI and where its limits are right now.
It makes you wonder, right?
And it gets even more interesting when we think about AI's creative potential.
Oh, right. Because so far we've been talking about AI as this like logical problem solver, but what about art? Can AI actually be creative?
That's the fourth part of the exam, and it gets to the core of what we consider uniquely human. Can an AI compose music that moves us emotionally? Can it write poetry that captures the human experience? Or is it just like mimicking patterns it's been trained on?
I'm just picturing an AI trying to write a movie script. Could it really come up with a story that feels real, relatable?
It raises so many questions, and it's not just about the end result, but how it even gets there. Do we need to redefine creativity in the age of AI?
It's like we're asking AI to get in touch with something like deeply human, you know?
Yeah.
Something beyond just information.
Yeah.
But before we go too far down that road, there's that other part of the exam we haven't talked about, common sense, which sounds kind of basic when you say it like that.
Right. It's what we do without even thinking every single day. But for AI, common sense is anything but common. It's about understanding all those unspoken rules we have, dealing with messy situations where there's no right answer, making those intuitive leaps that we just do naturally.
So it's like, can AI get that if I ask for a glass of water, I probably don't want it full of ice, even if I don't say it? Or that if I'm running late for a meeting, it's not the best time to ask about my weekend?
Exactly. Context, intuition, reading between the lines. The article had this great example. Imagine an AI robot trying to navigate a crowded street market.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Think about all the unwritten rules there about space, personal boundaries, understanding people's expressions.
So can it handle the world, not just physically, like moving around, but socially, emotionally, the way we do? This whole humanity's last exam, making me wonder what it even means to be human. You know, it's like we're holding up a mirror to ourselves.
What's so interesting is that this exam is just as much about understanding AI as it is about understanding ourselves. Like, what do we value in intelligence and creativity and making ethical choices? And what happens if we make machines that can do those things too, maybe even better?
Which brings us back to the person behind all this, the one who created Sun Intelligence 3.0. You said they're doing some really groundbreaking stuff in AI. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, definitely. What's really interesting about Sun Intelligence 3.0 is that it's not just a small step forward. The article calls it a totally different way of building AI, one that's based on how humans actually learn and adapt.
So instead of just being fed tons of data, this AI is actually learning to think more like we do. That's kind of amazing, but also a little creepy, to be honest.
It makes sense to feel that way. This kind of thing really shows how much we're in uncharted territory, and it makes things like this exam even more important to steer AI in a good direction, a direction that benefits us. Like, there was this one line that really stuck with me. The potential of AI is huge, but we have to be careful, make sure these advancements help humanity, not hurt it.
That's so true. It's like we're at a crossroads. AI could solve climate change, poverty, all these problems. But it could also make things more unequal, create new problems we haven't even thought of.
And that's where the creator's vision comes in. They talk about using this technology to propel humanity forward.
Wow.
It's a powerful statement. What does forward even mean in this context,
Okay, I'm all for progress, but propel sounds kind of intense. Like, do they have a destination in mind, or are we just launching into the void? And who gets to decide what forward even means for everyone?
That's the key, right. And the article doesn't shy away from that. It acknowledges that AI isn't being developed in some bubble. It's shaped by the values, the biases, the hopes of the people creating it.
So it's not just about the tech stuff, the coding and algorithms. It's about the bigger picture, the ethics, the philosophy, making sure AI aligns with what we believe in, that it's actually good for everyone.
Exactly. We need to stop thinking of AI just as a tool and start thinking of it as a partner. We work with it, learn from it.
Which is kind of a mind-blowing idea when you really think about it. We're talking about machines here, but I guess that's what this whole exam is about, isn't it? Seeing if AI can really step up, meet us on our level in a way.
And maybe, just maybe, by creating these tests for AI, we'll learn something about ourselves in the process. Like the creator said, trying to understand artificial intelligence is ultimately trying to understand ourselves.
It's like we're evaluating AI, but at the same time, we're looking at ourselves.
Yeah.
If we can actually create something that can make ethical decisions, understand things that aren't clear-cut, even be creative. What does that say about us? Are those things we even fully grasp in ourselves?
That's such a good point. We're trying to define these very human things, but in a way that makes sense for machines. And in doing that, we have to really think about ourselves, about how complex we are.
And it makes you wonder, what if an AI actually aces this exam? What does that mean? Does it change how we think about intelligence, about consciousness?
The article talks about this, and it doesn't give a simple answer, which I like. It's not about passing or failing. It's about seeing where AI really shines, where it struggles, and what that tells us about these challenges we're giving it.
So it's less about saying who wins, who loses, and more about using this exam as a way to learn. Humans and AI kind of figuring things out together.
Right, exactly. It's about realizing that AI isn't this separate thing, it reflecting our values, our hopes, even our fears. It's like a mirror showing us what we're capable of, good and bad.
Which brings us back to you listening right now. We've gone through a lot in this deep dive, from the details of humanity's last exam to what it all means when we think about AI in general. What really sticks with you? What are you thinking about now?
And if you're curious, definitely check out the article we've been discussing. It's really thought-provoking, a great place to start if you want to learn more.
I totally agree. And as we wrap up here, I keep coming back to this one thought, kind of unsettling if I'm honest. What if the biggest thing to come out of humanity's last exam isn't about judging AI, but about judging ourselves?
Because ultimately, AI's future isn't going to be decided by some lab or research paper. It's happening now because of all of us, the choices we make, the conversations we have.
So let's keep the conversation going. Keep asking questions, keep pushing the limits of what's possible for ourselves and for whatever intelligence can become.